If someone uses AI to make a happy birthday card, are you really going to criticize that person for using AI to create something that's meant to bring positivity to someone else? Because I don't think everything that people make online is to steal stuff or to replace something. I genuinely feel the majority of people who use AI tools are doing it because we love to explore a new form of art in ways that we couldn't access before.
Welcome to Imagine AI Live podcast. I'm your host, Chris Madden, and today we have with us Jerrod Lew. Jerrod, you are ubiquitous on Twitter and LinkedIn, I feel. I see you posting every day, and that is like your goal, to create and post every day. So that makes sense. And you've grown quite the following on X, up past 4,000 followers now. And how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm so happy to be here. I'm so looking forward to chatting with you, Chris, because you do an awesome job with this podcast. You have some awesome guests. So it's a real honor to be part of the show, man. Can't wait to talk about some AI stuff and some content stuff.
Yeah, for sure. You know, you're an amazing AI creator, and it was great to have you at the New York Impact event. And I unfortunately wasn't able to be there because I'm based in South Korea for a one-day event. It was a little hard, but that's what's beautiful about a podcast. So we're talking half a world away right now. Can you talk about that balancing between your main job and this passion project?
It's been tricky. And honestly, I've had many side projects for many years now, going back to university and school. I've been a YouTuber since like 2007. I started making music and stuff on there, moved into gaming and tech, and now into AI. And I've always done it on the side of work or study. And it's really tricky to do. It's there's a lot of you have to really balance time. You have to really set a calendar to know when you need to be at work and when you have time to actually record. But it's all because I just love to do it. I love the creative process. I love sitting down and making videos. I love exploring new technology. And over the last year, this whole AI initiative that I was working on grew faster than I would ever have imagined it. I never thought a year ago I would have partnerships with different companies and this amount of followers as an audience, and it's even be on like a podcast like this, and to go to events. It's very surreal to me. So it's hard to balance with 9 to 5, and I hope one day it does become something that is the 9 to 5.
So briefly, the 9 to 5, that's Philip Morris International, right? And how long have you been working there? And kind of talk about your background, like leading up to that big. I mean, that's a big job. That's a big company, and where you grew up.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a story for you about this. So yeah, Philip Morris, I've been with the company nearly 7 years. In next month, I will celebrate my 7th year anniversary with the company. And I started working with them back in Switzerland. And then I've spent 2 years living in London, UK. And then I moved out to the US for a new role at the end of last year. So it's been a turbulent but fun adventure over the years with the company. And it's interesting because Philip Morris has been a big part of my life growing up. I had family members who were involved with the company growing up, and I always told them that, you know, I never want to work for a tobacco or nicotine company. And I was very adamant about this, but they're the company that gave me the opportunity to work in the social media and digital space. And there weren't many companies back 7 years ago that were doing that at the time. And they gave me the opportunity to move and travel the world. And I'll always be eternally grateful for that. But this has kind of been a story of my life, right? I grew up moving a lot because of my parents' work. I was born in Singapore, but I've lived in Australia, in Hong Kong. I lived in Japan twice. This is my second time in the US, actually. Switzerland twice, UK. So I was moving on average every 3 or 4 years. And so I told myself I don't want to keep doing this as an adult, but here I am 7 years later and I'm still traveling and moving around a lot. But wow. I feel very lucky and very fortunate to have found the opportunity to do this.
And the fitting in of like the social media endeavors in your project where you can do it from anywhere, it's a good fit for you, I feel. So moving around a lot when you were young, that's really tough. Do you have brothers or sisters?
Yep, I've got I've got my sister, Ashley. She lives in London. She's a couple years younger, and then I've got a younger brother. We have a 13-year age gap between us, actually. So he's just starting university.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, it was quite a surprise when he when he turned
Yeah,
up.
surprise for the parents too. Jeez, I tell you, as a parent, I'd be very, very surprised. I
I
gotta
was
start
like,
this all over again. Oh, my
yeah,
God.
it was very surprising, but yeah.
That's great. More life, the better. And so just tell me about that moving around as a young kid, like teenage years. How do you adapt? What kind of lessons do you take from that time period?
I learned about communication in like a very different way. And I learned about culture in a very different way and identity. I get asked the question sometimes, where are you from? And I honestly don't really have an answer to that question because I'm from many different places. I'm Australian. I have an Australian passport, but that doesn't necessarily define my home or my culture. So for me, it was a difficult learning, especially growing up in different schools and different countries. What does it mean to be a person? And then eventually what it means to be an adult. And how do you want to define yourself in this world? And it all came down to me to just meeting people and talking to people and sharing stories. And a lot of the content stuff that I do now and the work that I do in social media, the core of it is storytelling. How do you tell a story in different ways? And that for me is what social media was when I picked up Facebook all those years ago and what it still is now. So I'm trying to use the strengths of that I have gained, I think, from moving around a lot to apply it to all the projects that I'm doing.
You can take punches and things change and adaptability and all that. So with your time at Philip Morris, you were doing social media and you must have come across AI early. What was the spark for you? When did you start thinking, wow, this is really cool. I want to play around with it more?
It's funny because it all came back to my music, and I write music. I'm a songwriter. I'm self-taught on a bunch of different instruments, and I recorded all my music on a software called GarageBand, which is free across
I remember
all Mac
that
device.
Yeah.
And a few years ago, Apple released a new feature on GarageBand called the drummer feature. And it is an AI feature where it listens to your song and it puts a drum track over it, listening to the beats, listening to the instruments that you're playing. And me being someone sitting at home with a laptop, and I don't have a drum kit. My neighbors would hate me if I had a drum kit in here. Having access to a tool like Drummer that was made of very realistic sounding drum sounds allowed me to create the songs and the music that I had in my head at the time. And that was an AI powered thing. I wouldn't be able to do and record the music and release the music without that tool because I just don't have the resourcing. And that's when I started out thinking, okay, well, if this is being used here in this case, helping me, a random musician just playing and doing stuff for fun, what other AI tools out there, what other technology is there out there to also cut the expensive parts or the tedious parts of creativity? And I think that's when I started to, over the last few years, play around a little bit or explore, what is out there in this space. And you learn that most of the things you learn that you use during the day are AI powered in some way, like the notifications you get on your phone, Google Maps, GPS, summarizing text and emails. These are things that are like AI light tools.
Yeah.
And suddenly now there's like the default on every app that you had. So when I first touched ChatGPT and when I first touched Adobe Firefly and DALL-E 3 back with Microsoft last year, and I put in a prompt and something came back to me, I was like, okay, this is something that is going to change a lot of things in the world. Did I expect a year and a half later for everything to go this fast? No, but it's at the point now where it's like AI has become so embedded into my workflows, and it's all because of that original curiosity of, how can I become creative without having to go through the traditional learning pathways of being creative.
Yeah, so fast it's moved. And so just that moment of you with GarageBand and realizing that, oh, I don't need a drummer. I don't need to corral my friend over here to be a drummer or hire somebody to be a drummer. It just puts the drummer in there like that and matches my tune. And now with art and creativity, it's so much the same. You can tell the AI what you would like. And there's a lot of a direction which we'll talk about, but it allows you to be more creative and saves human time. And to your point about how fast it's moving, yeah, I've been following the space as well, and it's insane. Today, they just released Claude AI, which takes over your computer and will write websites for you and create CMR systems. And then with video, with translation, I just tried out this new app. My wife speaking Korean with an English speaker on the other side of the screen. It mutes the person and then it just translates into like the translation in like very, like my wife said, that's how business Korean people would speak, and it just mutes it. So it's getting to that simultaneous translation via computer. And then with this video stuff, it's just, wow, that looks really good. You had the videos of Will Smith eating pasta and it looks all messy and like, oh, that's crazy. And now it's seamless in a lot of examples, and it's getting really fun too and creative. And I find it very enjoyable because you're kind of the expanse of what the human imagination and creativity can be with these AI videos. And you're using a lot of the more professional tools. Tell us your favorite tools for creating AI artwork and videos today.
Yeah, I mean, the landscape for these tools is so expansive now. And it's funny because it's like when an AI company releases a new feature, it's like another company is going, oh, now we have to release something as well. So it's like this race, which is just nonstop. And as a content creator, I'm like, can you guys like not do this? Like, take your time, please.
It's like an arms race. Really. And that's, this is something that people need to realize, that this is not stopping. There's no, this is just going to get more and more powerful because there's all these different players trying to make the best product. And it's a great thing because we're getting so much crazy value out of these products, and it's happening on so many different fronts. And it's, just jump in and start paying attention. You'll see where the cutting edge is.
Yep, absolutely. Again, now's the best time to jump in because it's still somewhat affordable and still somewhat accessible, I would say now, because it's only going to get more expensive with the stuff in the background. The amount of compute power behind these companies is massive, especially with the expectations of how the quality needs to be so high now. The speed of the generation needs to be so fast now. These are things looking back 12 months ago. We were used to waiting 3 or 4 minutes for a short 10-second AI video. Now with Runway, with their fast mode, their turbo mode, it's like a minute to get a video out. And this is just going to high quality, usable. You can download it, you can apply it, you can extend it, you can modify it. Like, it's incredible. I think the best tools out there from here, and I think for video, Runway stands out as, I think, the strongest in terms of quality and output. And I think they've held that position for quite a while. They've always been a very strong company. And I think now, especially with I think they announced their partnership with Lionsgate this year as well. We'll see what that turns out to be. They're for sure the number one at the moment. But that's not to say that the other tools around them aren't innovating and aren't good as well. And Runway may be the best, but the one I use the most is Luma. I use Luma Dream Machine the most because of how easy it is to jump in and use it. And I love that the site is just a text box and you just put in a prompt. There's no bells and whistles about it, and it just produces an output, which is really good quality. So Luma and Runway are like, for me, the top tier when it comes to video at the moment. And then there's obviously new ones coming out, like Kling AI is now showing some incredible stuff. The stuff on the Minimax side is also starting to blow people's minds. So we're entering the space now, I think, where I don't think it's going to necessarily be the best tool that people use, but people will get used to and more familiar with a specific tool because of either it's a set of features or that they're familiar with using it. And I think that's really great. It's not a monopoly anymore. It's people have their favorites and they will learn how to use that tool. And I think that's perfect. Otherwise, Runway would just own everything and run the whole show. I think it wouldn't be the best for the AI space there.
So much competition. How about after you get the image, like altering that image, where is the state of the field today?
Adobe have changed the game with this. And I remember last year when they first launched Adobe Firefly, the AI art model, the way they applied it directly into Photoshop, where you could extend, modify certain sections of an image, generative fill, all those things. I think this was a really smart move from them because it immediately showed people the absolute power of being able to make very minor but important adjustments in static images that would have taken a lot of time in the past. And now Adobe Firefly is embedded in so many of their different tools, and it's because of the flexibility of it. It's not just generating art, but it can also look at images coming in. So there's an input feature as well. And for people that are just jumping in to AI or art or anything, I think Firefly is just the best way to go down, because you get a first-hand experience with everything all in one place, led by a very reputable company in the art and creativity space.
And so Firefly, is it part of the Adobe Premiere Cloud package?
Yeah. So if you are with the package, you get a lot more credits. I'm pretty sure you can still use it for free in like a limited output. But the best way to use it is by using Adobe Express. It's their Canva alternative. It's a competitor, very similar setup. But Firefly is built straight into Express. So imagine every template that you see on there, you can edit anything with it directly in the tool with Firefly. And I think that's what makes it so accessible.
What are the use cases for all this AI art technology? Like, where is it going to be used?
There's so many ways, and I've got some practical examples of how it's helped me, especially at work. Last year, I work in the corporate communications department for Philip Morris, and my role last year was running a lot of the social media channels and pitching ideas and creative artwork to our actual designers that work for us. If we had an idea for a campaign or a social media post, someone had to design the asset. I learned that instead of writing a brief, one page of just text describing what I want a graphic to look like, I used Adobe Firefly and DALL-E at the time to come up with a mock-up of the color palette that I want to use, the style of the image that I wanted. And I found this to be like a really good way to speak to creative people and very visual people that work in the space. So that whole storyboarding, that whole communication part, how we work together, is now vastly changed. You can now interact with people in a bunch of different ways. So that was a very practical use case that I found off the back. For all the other stuff with AI, with like writing and summarizing emails and helping you book your travel and these kind of things, I think this is stuff that's going to just be embedded because it's so ingrained in, we open Google Maps to get somewhere, or we open City Mapper to get somewhere. The expectation is just there now that it knows where my home is and how to get there, and it will use an AI summary of how to guide me to those different places.
The expectation is going to be, I want to be able to explain what I want to have happen. And then these products, these apps with the AI behind it should make that happen. So more about the art AI uses though. So like, how about photographers, filmmakers, and then like social media, like content creators?
I think it's going to allow people to tell stories in ways that is meaningful to them. I think that's the main key stand-up point for AI art, because my creative output was always music. It was never in this visual space. And I was always very scared about it because it's such a big, learning how to use a camera, learning lighting, learning angles, learning, how to make a movie. These are things that are very scary and very intimidating to do traditionally. But with AI art and video, I'm able to learn what different art styles mean. I'm able to learn what different camera angles mean. I'm able to, and to do it in like a very practical way. I'm prompting a shot in a certain way, and I can learn how different keywords lead to different camera angles and things like this. And I think from a storytelling perspective, and this is where we go back to the content creators, especially, people cannot tell their stories because they're not held back by needing a license to get stock images or video. Maybe if English isn't their first language and they want to tell a story in English or another different language, they have the tools now that they can do that without having to sit down for years and learn that language, So there's many different ways that it will help people in the micro sense just to get their story out there faster, but also in a way that's important to them. Everyone shares something different. And I think AI art is in that middle zone now where anyone can go in there and start using it to share something.
I think that's a great insight, and that the professionals are always going to be the professionals in the field. But what this generative AI art allows to happen is that everyone can enter the field and be able to create and tell their story in a visual medium so much easier. And the walls kind of come down, and the professionals will still be there, and they maybe do their job and command the higher price to get good work done. But there's everyone else can now create so easily.
Are you a podcaster? Do you appreciate the power of AI to make your life more productive? Well, do I have the tool for you? Podcast AI is a company that streamlines all your post-production needs. It honestly saves me an hour or two of work every episode, and it gives me tons of ideas for marketing and social media posts. Go over to podcastai.com now to see for yourself.
What advice do you have for those professionals, the people that are in the art and creative fields now that maybe haven't looked at AI yet and are worried about it, don't know what to take of it? What's your advice to those people?
I always find that people that are professional and people that I've met that are professional in the creative space, they're so naturally curious to things, and especially to different technologies. And I'm not just talking about AI, but everything that we use, from the software to the hardware, whether it's cameras and new features on cameras or microphones or different tools to edit, make music on. There's so many tools out there that are always changing. And I've always found that professionals jump in because they're curious about, hey, what is this stuff? Is it helpful to me or not? I really encourage looking at AI in a way that it's a tool. It's another set of hands or a bit of technology that can maybe help you in a certain way. It doesn't have to make the movie for you. It can help you in a very much smaller, productive way, like, I don't know, organizing your calendar, helping you organize your storyboard for the shoot that you're going to today. That would have taken you minutes to hours to do. There's different ways for the technology to embed it. It's not always black and white of this thing is going to make my movie. It's going to steal everything. It's going to take my job. I really don't think that way about it. I see it just as another tool. So I just encourage people to look at AI holistically, especially professionals, and see where it can be used for them. That doesn't disrupt their work and their artistry. And I always really want to encourage professionals to share more as well, because they have so much to teach people like me who are learning art and learning video and learning film. There's so much to teach us, from their experience of how to approach things. I think if they jump into AI, the prompts that they will write to create art is going to be so much more advanced than artists like me who are just picking it up. So I just encourage curiosity as much as possible with them.
I think there is a backlash against AI art, and we get a lot of comments, there's angry comments, angry emojis like, I'll never support AI art. It doesn't support humans and takes away from human artists. And there is, popular social media platforms like Kara that has popped up it's like bans AI art. It's only for human art. To an extent, I'm sure there's always going to be that, but I wonder your thoughts on that.
Absolutely. I mean, people physically in my life, colleagues, friends, family members who question why I do stuff in this space and why I promote AI tools, I guess, and create content about them. And obviously I get a lot of comments sometimes as well, and DMs, what people that will say this is a garbage piece of content because it's AI. I think everyone's perspective is valid because they have their own context, they have their own backgrounds, they put their life and soul into the art in the way that they've made it. And I couldn't be happier for them and their successes because their perspective is absolutely valid and the concern is valid. But the example I always bring up is if someone uses AI to make a happy birthday card, are you really going to criticize that person for using AI to create something that's meant to bring positivity to someone else? Because I don't think everything that people make online is to steal stuff or to replace something. I genuinely feel the majority of people who use AI tools are doing it because we love to explore a new form of art in ways that we couldn't access before. And, me being a content creator in the space, I make no money from any of this, like zero. And I don't know many creators at all that make money out of any of these things. Like we're all in heavy debt from using AI tools and the time taken to do it. But it's because we're just curious and want to explore something. If there is something to be concerned about, I would be concerned about the bigger companies that are using AI in different ways that could potentially be using training data that isn't licensed or using data that they didn't have approval to use. But I don't think that should fall on the creators personally, because we're just here trying to learn different things. Not everyone is trying to make a career out of this.
Yeah, well, you just gave me an idea to where maybe we could make some money is AI birthday cards and putting in specific personalized information and to somebody you want to send a birthday card to and have some cool artwork pop out on a card and clever text.
Opportunities there. It's great.
And that's what the creativity behind it. I'm looking at Kara app right now, and I don't think any of these people are making money either. And we're trying to make money with the podcast, but no, it's definitely a kind of loss leading effort. And, it's about that being able to talk with people, share ideas, help people gain more information and insights. But the thing is that you stay at it. And that's just the game today in general. You've got to find your passion. And you got to stay at it and build that following and build that name recognition. And the missing piece here that I haven't mentioned, it's social media. You need to grow these social media accounts and to be able to get your following. And so already we're all kind of slaves to the social media platforms, but you don't need to use the qualifier slaves, because it really is helping a lot of people and making their efforts and their creativity be shared more and make a living. And so it's not easy. You've got to stay at it. And the artists are upset with social media back in the day too, because I'm here in my art studio, and people that come through the door or see my pamphlet, I guess, and come and buy art. And all these people are just putting their art up on social media and getting thousands of followers and can get, deals through that. And then, AI comes around and taking a lot of the attention away from maybe real artists, which I understand it's all a competition for attention at the end of the day, I think. And you need these social media platforms.
I agree.
I just had lunch with a guy whose daughter is going away to art school in the US. And we were talking about AI. I was like, that's great. Following her passion. And, I'm sure that's $20,000 a year at least for tuition. And my advice would be to have her figure out, create social media accounts now and start showing her daily work and her progress and just day in the life stuff, and start building the brand now, because that's how you're going to be able to make an impact and share your work with the world.
It's a really good piece of advice to make, because we're entering a time now where content and the frequency and the quality of content is exploding. There's more content, there's so much content happening with AI. It's just going to become faster and higher quality. And so to stand out, the only thing you have really is yourself and your uniqueness. And building personal brands and sharing your work almost like a portfolio is just so critical. And on hindsight, I was like, God, I wish I had really thought about this 10 years ago, because I've been doing this content creation stuff for years. But it's only now that I'm starting to figure out, putting everything under my name and not being afraid of all these different projects being under my name as well. It's all part of the brand. It's all part of who I am as a person. And that's the only way, I think, to stand out. And I think you'll find with many content creators that are in the AI space, some have just started. They found AI art and are now creators. But there's a lot of people in the space, especially on Twitter, who have been creators for many, many, many years across many different mediums, including myself. And AI is just another form of us to try to build an audience with. So we didn't just show up because of AI. We've been creators for a long time.
The best time to plant a tree was 10 years ago. The next best time to plant a tree is today. Being authentic and being yourself and not being afraid to post and getting used to posting. And then it becomes super easy and you can just put yourself out there. You're posting every day. I've got some crazy stats here. You've made over 100 YouTube videos in the last year. You've had 14,000 posts on X so far. What's your daily process for creativity when you're going to make a post today?
I always try to stay a week ahead if I can, because with work...
Are you serious? You're a week ahead? Wow, bravo.
I try. And it gets hard sometimes, especially since, I'm traveling a lot between now and the end of the year. So it's going to be really hard. I don't know how I'm going to figure this out, but I always have my laptop on me, whether I am on the train to the office or at the office at my lunch break. And I am just always writing in my notes different video ideas that come to mind every day, nonstop. And it's not always a big video. It could be a new feature that has just been released. It could be a feature that's coming out. It could be, here's how I made this little effect. And when you start breaking down content to these micro sub-content things, you can suddenly start to pull out a lot of different ideas very, very quickly. And I'm always just recording throughout my days. It's not always me talking to a camera every day, but me getting the screen recording of the tools done, getting that editing done quickly of that, And on the weekends, on Sunday especially, is where I normally sit down and I film back to back myself talking to a camera, explaining how to use a tool. And that's why sometimes one week you'll see like 5 videos from me and I'm wearing the same shirt across all 5 of them. That's because I just record them back to back and I didn't realize I had the same shirt on. But Sundays are like a heavy recording editing day for me. And then I just schedule it for the week ahead. And therefore, I can spend my time during the week when I've got less time to make stuff, actually interacting with people. And that's the balance that I have at the moment. It's very time consuming, but it's a lot of fun.
That sounds like a good method to do that. And so just to clarify, the notes you're taking, is that on the Note app?
Yep. It's a Note app on my phone. I just have an ongoing list of ideas and I just check them off one by one as I go through them, and I keep adding more and more to them. I just finally did a refresh of it. I deleted a bunch of old video notes and started fresh again.
And so on Sunday, are you making the artwork in these different AI software?
Yeah. So Sundays, that's when I pull everything together basically. So I do my best during the week to get as much footage as possible, whether it's making the art or the video. Then I kind of just leave it in a folder and say, okay, on Sunday, open that folder and let's edit this thing properly.
Put it all together.
Exactly. And then I used to script the videos a lot back when I started doing YouTube again last year. Like the old content was very scripted. I'm now completely off the fly when it comes to recording because it's just faster. And I've gotten more comfortable doing it as well. And since I familiarized myself a lot with the tool that I'm talking about, I find it really easy to very quickly record videos about it. So the most tedious part is getting on camera, honestly, and recording that. And then editing it afterwards just takes time, like a lot of time. But I love doing it though. So I don't mind.
Finally, how about the copywriting for the actual posts? When do you do that?
That's done on the spot, really. I like to schedule a few days ahead of time. I always try different things with the copywriting. So I try to put a hook at the start, and sometimes just mentioning a tool and the new feature is enough. And then I always try to include a bit of a call to action of, what do you think? Oh, have you tried this yet? Have you heard of this tool before? But to be very honest with you, the copywriting is something that I really struggle. Even with all the AI tools out there at my disposal, I really struggle still to write effectively. And it's weird to say that because, as you said, I've posted a lot of times on X and on different platforms. But writing for me is just such a dynamic field because algorithms change. The way people read things is different now. People just scroll so fast now. So I'm really trying to learn from my fellow creators to understand what works best. But that's what you do on the fly.
What advice do you have on that? I mean, you've been copywriting for over a decade. And what advice do you have for the copywriting in 2024 on social media?
Look towards the creators that you like to watch or read their content of. You see them a lot because the platforms will automatically promote them to the front of your feed. Instead of just looking at it and scrolling, actually take time to understand how they have written something, the words that they've used, an image, what type of image does it use? Does it link to the text in some way? And when you start to break that down, you see that, for me anyways, writing is it's a bit of like a give and take with the person reading it, right? These people have found a way with their audience to write in a way that is very attractive to that particular person. Whether it's writing in conjunction with an image or the image promotes the writing, it differs. I would just look at those creators that you like to see content from and try to take an extra second to analyze it a little bit and then try to take those learnings into your own content because they're the ones that are at the top of the game in the space. And It's easier to be inspired by them than try to go down your own path.
I learned a lot from Harry Stebbings and working for him for 2 years. I mean, he is a proliferate tweeter and poster, and he would always have comments on our copy and cutting it down and making it punchier. And really that like line, space, line, because people are scrolling and they can only look at so much. And so if you have a paragraph of text, that's like almost an instant scroll in this day and age, and just really making it punchy, getting the facts out there, what people want to see, and like the main subjects and the facts, and the numbers. So I've really tried to take that, and it takes time. And you're right that it's like you want it to be good, and you want it to have this impact. So you dwell on it sometimes. And his other piece of advice is just like, you got to do your best and get it out there. And it's not going to be perfect. And it's kind of like lifting weights or something. Like you're just strengthening your copy muscles by doing this daily and getting stuff out there and just trying to improve, but it still takes thought. And then AI copywriting, yeah, like with this transcript of the podcast, for example, like it does everything for you if we let it. Like it'll write the YouTube title, it'll write the YouTube description, it does the YouTube timestamps, it'll suggest clips for us, it'll make those clips for us, it'll write the copy for the clips. That's everything AI can do today. And it's passable, it works, but I still, for the YouTubes, I go through and I change the title often. Description, I'm kind of fine to keep it as they suggested, but sometimes the timestamps are important to go through. But then the copy itself, like you can just tell AI copy now. It's like delve into the world of AI.
Yeah, always.
Yeah,
it's the best way to catch it out.
And like the emojis and stuff. And so it's like people are they call BS on that, and you need to get your authentic, your writing voice and your humanity in there, and like almost like typos and maybe why people only write and they don't use caps, on Twitter a lot. It's like, I'm too busy and too fast. I'm just going to stream of consciousness this out. And that's my thought going out there to the world. And I think that's going to be more and more valuable.
Absolutely. I think one of my favorite creators in the AI space is Alex Northstar. Fantastic creator in the space. And this guy travels the world talking about AI. I think his main aim is to save people a couple hours a day with AI tools. And one of his recent videos broke down a bit of his process about that, the human and the AI conjunction. So it's the 10-80-10 rule. 10% at the start is the human prompting, very important, the context, which the human has to give as to why we're doing something. The 80% of it is AI. It can be helping you to get through that process. It can be writing, it can be iterating, it can be brainstorming. But then there's also a 10% at the end, the remainder which is that final human comb over, that fine tuning, which only us as people and our uniqueness can do, because that's what makes whatever we're doing our own. And that's an approach I think is good for content creation as well. I think, sure, let ChatGPT write you 100 different posts, but take time yourself to go in through and put your own voice in there as well, because I think that last 10% makes all the difference. So as you said, delete all the delve and related keywords out of it, because no one uses that word apart from OpenAI apparently. So
yeah, Jerrod, you're a prolific content creator. What are your top 3 content creation tools that you'd recommend?
So Open Broadcaster software, OBS, this is the number one tool for like anything to do with live streaming or recording. You can record your screen, you can record software, everything is completely free. It's used by professionals, it's used by streamers, everyone. It's such a versatile tool. So I use that every
so that's where
day.
you can screen record your screen and record yourself, and your like head goes up in a bubble somewhere, and it's kind of customizable to an extent.
Exactly. You can have different audio feeds. It can get really advanced and really professional. I cannot believe that it's free personally, but it's for me the number one best tool to start with as a creator. The second is CapCut. I'm a long-term Adobe Premiere user, but I love CapCut because it's so easy to make very quick clips and very quick edits. I love that it's on your phone. And again, it's completely free to use, plus has just a ton of templates, text animations, video animations, transitions built in. So it's a great way to get into that world of editing, because Adobe tools are fantastic, but there is a bit of a learning curve.
I'll just add there that, CapCut is an amazing tool, and it's owned by ByteDance, I believe. And it's like affiliate. They've made the tool is so easy to use and advanced too. You can really do a lot with it. And it is free, but there is a paid tier that to get a lot of the cool features, it's like $10 a month or something. But if you're using it a lot, it's worth it.
And absolutely. And the last one is Adobe Express. I used Canva a lot back in the day, but I've been using Adobe Express more because I've just found it a lot more user-friendly for me. And as someone who's familiar with the Adobe tools, it's like a seamless step into the Adobe world in a way that's easy, light, and honestly, like a lot of fun. You can edit videos in there. You can find stock footage in there. You can find thousands of different templates in there. and it's a great way to get started. So,
and it's got the AI tools now, right?
It does, and Firefly is built directly in, and there's a bunch of some like exciting stuff coming to Adobe Express. I mean, you can even schedule your posts on social media on Adobe Express as well. Like there's a lot of different things on there.
Is that browser only?
So it is on the browser, but they also now have a phone app as well. And what's really cool with that is you can literally take a photo as you're going out and edit it on your phone, including all the AI tools. So if I take a selfie of myself and someone's in the background, I can edit them out with Adobe Express within minutes. So it's now on the mobile as well, and it's really great.
And do you need an Adobe subscription for that?
Nope, it's completely free. I mean, if you have the subscription, you get access to like more premium templates and things like this. I use it for free at the moment. Yeah.
Well, so cool. Thanks for sharing those. We've got one of your videos up here and you're talking to the camera. This is a Sunday, I presume. And what is it that we're looking here? It's like a woman on a bed that turns into her kitchen, and then she's on a subway, and it's a seamless transitions here. How'd you make that?
Yeah, so I wanted to depict a 9 to 5, a day, wake up, eat, go to work, come home, sleep, and repeat. And I wanted to do this in a way that was consistent in color and image style, but also use the power of AI video to keep a consistent camera movement. So all the images here were created with a tool called Ideogram. And Ideogram's great because you can put in a custom colored palette, basically, for your images. So regardless of what image you put in, it's going to retain the colors of that palette. So therefore, I was able to make a consistent set of images to eventually bring into an AI video tool. In this case was a Luma Dream Machine.
Wow. So I'm looking here and like you did this and there's like 4 different things you can choose. So it's giving you options of which one you want to choose, which video you want to choose. Or is this an image first?
These are all images. So it gives you 4 options. And I'd like to pick the ones that are probably the easiest to bring into an AI video tool. So I like the person to be centered if possible, like these ones here with the person in the subway. And I wanted it to include people that are not like, there's not too much stuff around them. I really want it to just be that one person because I don't want to confuse the video tool with too many things in the image. So I picked the best ones that I feel are the most consistent across in terms of color, in terms of composition. And then I brought them into Luma Dream Machine towards the end of the video. And that's where the magic kind of happens here because Luma has a fantastic feature called keyframes. So you can input the first frame of the video and the last frame of the video. So I know how it starts and I know how it ends. All I got to figure out is how I want the camera to move between those 2 images. And it's a very simple rotation camera movement in the prompt that I kept consistent. And I just kept kind of laddering up each of those different images one by one as start and end keyframes. So they kind of seamlessly loop all together.
Oh, interesting. Around. So in the original video, you've got like 4 different scenes, I think. So but in the process, you're doing 2 scenes at a time, like the chronological lead.
Yeah.
And so you're doing the first 2 scenes and then you're doing that video transition. And then you're doing scene number 2 and 3 separately and that transition. And then 3 and 4 and that transition. Then you edit them, you just set them all together.
Yep. So basically in the last video that you make, the final image is the first image that you started with at the start. So it creates a seamless loop, basically, that goes round and round. And it's one of my favorite things to do with AI video. It's so visual and fun, and it's easy to share, and people can just get lost watching it going around and around and around again, even though it's only a 10-second clip.
And you're doing the video editing part in Luma as well?
Video editing is all on CapCut. So this is why I like CapCut, because in this kind of case, I don't need fancy editing tools to do this. I just need to link the clips together.
Because Luma's already done the fancy transition, right?
Yep. They've done the camera motions for me. And all I need to do is put it together and export. And CapCut is the easiest way for me to do that without having to do too much for it.
How long would you say that whole process would take once you have the idea?
To make the images and the video probably took around 20-30 minutes to do because sometimes the video output isn't exactly what you want, so you reprompt. It took longer to edit and do the camera stuff than actually make the clip. To record the footage of me talking and editing that takes a bit longer.
All right, so let's do another one here. This is a very visually catchy. It's a woman with a bunch of cheese or paper, gold colored paper falling on her head, and then lights. And it looks like it could be an ad. And I'm assuming these people aren't real, or are they actors?
So nothing here is real. All this it's AI art. That AI art becomes AI video. So this was made with Runway, and with the latest version of Runway for AI video, it turned out was very good at putting in visual effects, VFX. It's normally something that you would have to do with After Effects and something like that. Suddenly became very accessible in an AI video tool. So these images were just people smiling at a camera. There was nothing else on them. It was just them on a very plain backdrop smiling at the camera. All the liquid, all the lights, all the stuff falling at them, that's all added by Runway AI
and
video.
All the facial expressions, right?
Yep. All added completely. And I think the prompts I used were like person smiles at camera and lights fall around them. Very simple kind of things. And suddenly I was so happy with the output on this, because this is something that would have taken a long time to do on After Effects, but I managed to do it within a minute or two with Runway.
Finding the actors to record them.
Exactly.
It's really fun to hear that process, and it's not too difficult.
Nope, super easy, which is great.
Well, and just like getting over that fear of trying it out. I still think that a lot of people don't like creating new accounts and downloading new apps and stuff. And you have to get past that. Just try it out. Download the app. You have to sign up for an account, put in your email, and there's tutorials on all this. They hold your hand through the process, but it takes sitting down at the computer, not being distracted, and trying it out.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's get into the rapid fire round. You started the Onwards project. What was the inspiration for that name and what you were trying to build?
Last year, I was in a very difficult point in my life, and I just wanted to start making things that looked forward. And the first word that came to my head was, well, let's look onwards. Every day, let's look onwards into different ideas and different aspects of creativity. And so the whole ethos of the Onwards project was this belief that creativity allows everyone to have a voice. And with AI, art, and video, it just, for me, inspired me so much as saying, well, I think this is the technology that can help us achieve that. And the Onwards project kind of just became this brand, this name that I came up with just for me to organize the project in my head. And now it's become more of a slogan and more of the ethos behind all the content that I put out. It's about looking ahead.
That's awesome. Yeah, the mission behind it. And I do like your rebrand recently to just your name. And you are really the leading force of the Onward project. And it's a little easier to remember because it's a very specific thing. Nobody else is Jerrod Lew, even though there's probably a couple other Jerrod Lews. And I think that's my number one advice in branding for a lot of creators. Just go with your name, and then everything else you do under it, it'll be remembered for that and easier to remember in the future. Why do you dedicate all this free time? I mean, you're working a 9 to 5, and you said you pull out your laptop every chance you can to write down ideas and work on the Onward project and work on these AI creations, and you dedicate your Sunday to it. Why do you do it?
I feel very fulfilled with trying to help people and trying to share things that I hope will benefit or help people in some way. And all of my creative projects are like this. So all the music that I've done and I've released, all that was released to raise money for charities or to share stories with different people. And with AI, I just thought, maybe there's something I can do here to help bring it to people in a way that's practical for them, a way that's meaningful to them. And it's not always like, hey, look at this flashy AI tool, you should try it. But it's trying to really make it practical for them. Like, hey, I think you should give this a go because it will help you to achieve this faster. And that process for me and the response that I get from people is a very fulfilling thing. I just love to help as much as I can. And that's what makes all the time dedicated completely worth it.
Yep, I feel you there. It's why teaching is such a satisfying field, is because you do feel like you're helping people to better their lives. What advice do you have for teenagers or those about to enter university of what to study, considering this AI age we've entered?
I encourage people to study whatever they have the most interest and passion in at that time of their lives. I hear a lot of people say that you shouldn't study this because there won't be jobs for that in the future because AI is going to take it, or this is going to change. But I don't like the idea of telling people not to do something just because we're guessing about what might happen in the future. And I think the most powerful thing that people have is their passion towards a particular topic. And right now is the best time to go in and learn that, because we have more tools than ever before to go and learn in the way that you want, in the topic that you want to study in. And I think more of that, the better. I think we need as many different perspectives and backgrounds in the world as possible. And so this is the best time to jump in and chase whatever interests you had. It's something that I wish I did back when I was at university. I studied geography and urban town planning. I've never worked a day in it. I wish if I could go back, I probably would have studied communications or marketing. And the reason I didn't do it at the time is because I was so worried about the future rather than focusing on using my passion in the now. So that's why I would encourage people now to chase whatever they've interested.
Great advice. And so how about people trying to get a job in this market? You know, they maybe have graduated or they've lost a job recently. There have been a lot of layoffs in the tech space, and a lot of companies have hiring freezes because internally they're trying to figure out how to use AI and maybe making their current employees more productive. What advice do you have for people looking for a job in this environment?
I really feel for people in the current situation that have been affected, especially if a company says, oh, we're cutting this department because of AI. It's so early in the process for these actions to be taken. So I really feel for the people that are affected, because I think their value is like beyond what companies need right now. You need more people than ever than less, I would say. In terms of what people should do, I really recommend focusing on spare time. If you have a spare time on your hands, I recommend making stuff online and sharing your story, whether it's content, sharing your expertise, sharing the projects that you have worked on. Create a bit of an online portfolio for yourself that's really visible, because I think your story is valid and your experiences are valid and your expertise is valid. And I think I want to read it. I think people also want to read it. So I would encourage people to be a bit more open in sharing their backgrounds online and create a bit of content. I think it goes back down to that personal branding again. I think it's a very productive use of time, especially in this job market. And I think it's a way for you to stand out because you have so much to share.
I think that is great advice. And wherever you do want to work, like the field that you do want to work in, think of creative ways that you can show your talent in that field that you can post online and make it a video, make it a loom at least. If you can get your face out there explaining why you'd be great at this job or in this field and do it in a creative kind of eye-catching way, it's going to get eyeballs. And, you know, if you can get your video, your post in front of the people at this company or in this field that you want to work on, then it's way easier to approach them after that and, you know, send them that thing, or they're approaching you in a very good case. So that's what I advise too. All right. The last two questions. What are you most fearful about the future of AI?
I'm scared about people, to be honest, especially the people that are behind some of the larger AI conglomerates and companies. I'm looking at the Microsofts, I'm looking at OpenAI, I'm looking at Amazon, massive, massive corporations and companies that have a lot of financial power to take on a lot of the AI tools that we use. And I truly feel that right now we're at a turning point where we can either use this technology in a way that can be used to help people, make it accessible, make it affordable, apply it to, you know, to people's lives in a way that it genuinely helps. I hope we go down that path, but I also fear that it will go down the path of trying to make a lot of money out of it and trying to monopolize it in a way where people are forced to use certain tools at a certain cost. So I really hope that the people that are behind, the very rich people that are behind all of this, are thinking about the world and the people that live here rather than just their pockets. So my fear isn't AI itself, it's the people behind it.
Contrary to that, what are you most hopeful about with the future of AI?
It goes down to that storytelling aspect again, and I keep bringing this up because it's a real passion of mine, but I truly believe that we're going to see an explosion of people telling stories and perspectives that we've never seen before. We're going to see more content creators than ever. We're going to see more professionals share their work and their lives and how they perceive reality. And I think it's a really beautiful thing, because for a long time, I think some forms of art and some forms of having a voice has been difficult to have. And look, I'm an Asian guy that grew up in different countries around the world. I've faced discrimination in different forms in different places. And for me, what I found to have a voice was through art or through music or through these creative projects. These allowed me to have a voice and to share my story. And I think that if more people have that ability, we're going to have a new generation of people that are way more aware of the challenges that people face in the world. And that's what gets me really excited about the new generation. And I'm thinking about my younger brother, who's just turned 18 this year, who's just starting university. His worldview is going to be so much larger and more expansive than mine will ever have been because of the new technology out there. And I'm so excited for him and his generation, honestly, because I think they're going to do a lot of positive good for the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Thinking about your brother in this day and age and the wealth of information and access he has at his fingertips, and having this all-knowing, powerful oracle that he can ask any question and he gets the answers. And I think it's so important that you're thinking about where you want to go and staying on a path of learning and continual improvement and being a lifelong learner, and trying not to get distracted by mindless stuff that is on the internet everywhere, and focus on learning and staying up to date and trying out new tools and using your creativity to do good things and get your message out there. So,
yeah, for sure.
Well, Jerrod, it's been a pleasure talking with you. Right when you came on the scene, and especially when you came to Imagine AI Live in New York, I knew I wanted to interview you, and I'm so glad you got the chance. I think this will be very valuable for people. And thank you for coming on the Imagine AI Live podcast.
Thank you so much, Chris. It's an absolute pleasure and huge honor to be here. Thank you so much.